What is up? Last second surprise, even to myself. I thought to myself, I don't have to upload the video, don't have to run it through some editing software at all. I'm live, so we take any of the bumps that happen along the way. It's just easier to do it like this, and this would be like an 8-minute video if I did it right, so not a whole lot to go into. Not going to try to get into a lot of detail. I got to check the sound because sometimes it's a little wonky. I got to check the sound. There we go. It's good. All right. I got to put on. So we're currently about halfway through the third quarter of the Chargers Saints game. Also, is that a Shuck interception or touchdown? Interception. Well, Shuck did throw a touchdown, just gave it to the wrong team. All right, so not great. So at halftime, it was looking pretty even between Shuck and Rattler. Rattler had taken 3 sacks. Shuck had taken none. Shuck had a higher average amount of yards, a few fewer passes, and a few fewer receptions, but didn't look a whole lot different. Shuck doesn't have the rushing upside that Spencer Rattler had. And at that point, it felt kind of like they were even. Still some work for Shuck to do. Still has time to do some work to win that job. I wouldn't say that it's Rattler's for sure, but obviously Rattler is the leader in the clubhouse for that. Looking at some other rookie quarterback situations, what I did mean to say was also in chat. If you have anything, I'll go over the games. If you have any takeaways, fantasy relevant preferably, go ahead, shout them out, and I'll check those out. So other rookie quarterbacks this week one of the preseason, Shedeur Sanders, of course, got a lot of publicity as he always has throughout the entirety of this process, and I'm sure will continue for at least a couple of years, even if he doesn't make it in the NFL. He played against Carolina's defense, and it's preseason and all that, but you'd much rather somebody look good than not, and he looked good. Somebody who I actually thought looked better and who's going to get less publicity is Jackson Dart, who went up against, I thought, a tougher opponent in Buffalo. I would also say the New York Giants have less good depth at their wide receiver position than I believe that Cleveland does. So I think he's also working with a little bit less there, but looked great himself. So promising starts to both of their careers in a very early portion of their career and without a big sample size at all. And then Cam Ward, talk about not a big sample size. I think he had like 8 passes. Didn't have a whole lot of opportunities, but he did do fine with the opportunities that he had. So that would have been promising for Tennessee. And I think we'll get to, we'll get to that game for other reasons. But that's kind of your rookie quarterback out of the ones that actually matter at least, or might matter at some point this season. Roundup there. A little bit more about Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, so Michael Trubisky, part of the reason he got this opportunity, and it's great that he did well with the opportunity, is because Mitch Trubisky, can't get his name right, and Dylan Gabriel, both, I believe, have hamstring injuries, oddly enough, for quarterbacks. So, and that's part of the reason he got such a great look at it. But you know what? The NFL is all about seizing opportunities and running with it. And he sees the opportunity to the best of, any kind of expectation. So good start for him. I do think he's still behind Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart, but he's definitely pushing that very, very, quickly here in the offseason. Then let's just go through these games. So starting off with the Broncos 49ers, I just have this up to have something else on the screen, and then we can just say the score quickly. So Broncos won 30-9. Not that any of these scores really matter in the preseason, but there were a couple of takeaways, running back takeaways. Actually, one for each of these teams. One of them probably doesn't matter, but I want to mention it anyways. But the one that has clear fantasy relevance right now and is a situation that I think we're getting some mixed signals from potentially is R.J. Harvey. He actually ran ahead of J.K. Dobbins in this game, took the first carry, and it's not like J.K. Dobbins didn't play. Now, he played very little, but he did play with the starters on that same first drive. And, he got at least a couple of plays. I don't know what to make of that. I'm trying not to make too much of it. if we're reading tea leaves, the tea leaves are very unclear. So I don't want to put too much weight on this. JK seemingly just got into play a couple of plays. Maybe that's because he's the veteran. He didn't have any rushing attempts, which is the part of the game that you would think that he will be the most involved with, the ground game. But they allowed RJ Harvey to take care of that. I would say what I am taking away from this is that they're giving RJ Harvey the runway to earn more work, and they're allowing him to get more experience as soon as they can. So they obviously see some promise that they want to help foster. So in that sense, that's definitely good news, and it might even be better news than that, potentially, but I don't want to read into it too much. I don't know that he did anything fantastic to help himself or hurt himself with this opportunity either. Talk about taking advantage of an opportunity. It was a whatever kind of, performance from him. Then we look on the other side of the ball, San Francisco 49ers, my boy running back Corey Kiner, I believe undrafted. He had an impressive outing with a fairly large workload. Talk about taking opportunities and running with them. That's what Corey Kiner did. They have several injuries in that backfield there, Isaac Guerendo, as well as Jordan James. And believe it or not, I actually had Corey Kiner ranked higher than Jordan James in my NFL draft running back rankings. I believe they might have gotten flipped by the end of the time, but I like Corey Kiner quite a bit as a running back. Got an opportunity to look good. They also just signed Jeff Wilson, brought him in-house, who they had. I talked about that in one of these earlier episodes, actually, of this show. So let's move on then to the Titans and Buccaneers. A couple of pieces of information on this game. I don't have stuff for every game. For the Tennessee Titans, Tyjae Spears came away with a high ankle sprain as far as I'm aware. I don't know if they've done any kind of imaging on that to make sure it's nothing worse yet. But we're at that point in time where injuries definitely may start to impact players starting the season healthy. And so that's an injury where we're just kind of on the borderline of maybe he'll be prepared for week one, maybe not. So maybe Tony Pollard will have that backfield to himself in week one. Also, somebody who I've been really high up on for fantasy football had a good day. Calvin Ridley caught 3 of 3 targets, went for 50 yards with those targets. And in terms of somebody else coming and challenging him for targets, well, none of the other rookies did anything of note. They drafted 3 rookie wide receivers in the draft this year. I'm not saying they're all highly drafted or that I have high expectations for them, but they did draft 3 of them. I think each of them had 2 targets. One of them caught one of those for 6 yards. So 1 of 6 for 6 yards from the 3 big rookie names that, could, do something that we wouldn't expect or something like that. So if you want a super, super deep sleeper, because those names aren't impressing on this team either, where a target's going to go, somebody who I do think has the slimmest of chances of being somewhat fantasy relevant at some point this season would be Gunnar Helm. A lot of things got to go right for that, but rookie tight end Gunnar Helm taken, I believe, in front of all of those receivers. Not exactly a super great receiving tight end, but he's fine. Like in the why can't I think of his name? Pittsburgh Steelers tight end, their normal tight end. I just had it and then I forgot again. He's in that realm, He's just a good tight end. And then for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, running back Sean Tucker got some very, very rave reviews, great comments from the head coach there. And Rashad White did run ahead of him, but Sean Tucker also got mixed into it and had a really great day. Rashad White, I think, looked fine, but is he a threat to Rashad White, especially with those kinds of comments? I would say it's possible. So every time I turn around, I'm like a little less willing to draft Rashad White, even with where he's going, even though I've been high on him at times this offseason. Let's move on to I keep wanting to scroll on my little OBS screen instead of on the actual screen. The Steelers versus the Jaguars. I do believe there's some confusion here again with a running back situation being, of course, Travis Etienne. He was the first running back on the field. All the news has been that Tank Bigsby has been like the starting running back and the ETN's not. So, what do we make of that? I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Is it just an incumbent thing? Is this representative of who the starter actually is? I don't really know right now. So we'll keep an eye on that backfield still. Questions to be answered there. By the way, Steelers won 31-25 over the Jags. And the other bit of news is also, so I don't have any real news coming out. Oh, no, the other bit of news is from Pittsburgh, the Steelers. Roman Wilson was on the field with the first unit Pittsburgh offense. Not a surprise, but somebody who I think is being overlooked. And, he did fine with, I think he caught 2 targets. I think he caught both of the targets that went his way. He wasn't on the field for extremely long, which I think also gives you some promise towards him. A few drives. I don't think he was on the field for the whole half. Maybe. What is up, Sheila? Happy day. How are you? Are you enjoying a little preseason football, or you just ignore it all? We're just going through some of the tidbits of news, Sheila. Nothing too in-depth, nothing too crazy, but running through them, and then going to get out of here. Cowboys, Rams. Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter, running backs for the Los Angeles Rams. They seem to be in kind of a dead heat for the race right now, which probably isn't great news for Blake Corum, but nonetheless, that seems to be the case. Obviously, to be the backup to Kyren Williams, I doubt that there's much of a threat to Kyren Williams' workload. Maybe if one of them impresses enough, maybe they get on the field a little bit more this year than the backup did last year, Blake Corum, but who knows. Blake appears to have the veteran lead in the competition, but Jarquez Hunter is quickly nipping at his heels already. Haven't checked out it. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right, Sheila. You don't need to check out preseason games, or at least be very picky of which ones you do, and probably, a quarter, a half, a couple of drives, depending on exactly what it is you're wanting to watch. Texans, Vikings, what kind of takeaways were there from this one? I got to find them if there were. We went through that. I don't think I had any takeaways from this really. Woody Marks. Houston running back Woody Marks is still running behind veteran Dare Ogunbowale, who he's a very accomplished back himself. And this is why Woody Marks really wasn't on my radar at all, actually, early on in the offseason. Then people have been bringing up his name with Joe Mixon's health, with the words coming out about Nick Chubb, with Dameon Pierce having been on injured for a lot of the offseason up to this point. People, of course, turn to Woody Marks because Dare Ogunbowale is a known product. But I very much viewed Woody Marks as the replacement to Dare Ogunbowale in terms of when they drafted him. And he did run behind him in this game. Once again, there's that unknown factor working in favor of Woody Marks. But, I don't know. Dare Ogunbowale, Woody Marks maybe would split the work if it gets to like the absolute worst case scenario for the running backs there in Houston. And then, of course, Nick Chubb would still be involved as long as he's healthy. So it's an ugly backfield to get too involved with. At this point, before we have any other kinds of answers, Sheila, if you're still around, how's your weekend been? Giants, Bills. Well, we talked about Jackson Dart already. Do we have any Bills, Giants takes? I don't think there was anything to come out of that game. It doesn't appear so. So the Giants won 34-25, and the Cardinals won 20-17 over the Chiefs. And I do have a couple things here. Patrick Mahomes had a perfect stat line in this game. Threw the ball once. The ball was caught. Went for 1 yard. And 1 touchdown. Sorry for hitting the mic there. So, number 1, Patrick Mahomes. And it was all James Connors with the starters out on the field. All James Connors. And then Benson's work on the ground wasn't impressive, but he had a 20-yard catch to go along with the work that he had on the ground. Great weekend. There we go. I'm happy that you had a great weekend. I did have a good one. It was a good weekend. I took yesterday off. I just kind of took yesterday off, which was very nice after a long week that will continue to turn into a long few months and everything, of course, going forward. And a certain Packers staff member is helping me with my resume right now. Very high up. And very soon to be, or already is, a previous staff member there. So that's pretty neat too. Good news today on that front. He'll also hopefully be brutally honest and tell me if there's just no chance at the jobs that I would have the most interest in within an organization in the football league. But if there's anybody who's going to know it, it's definitely this guy. And I won't say his name. All right, so Jets, Packers. Jets up 1-30. Packers 10. Was not pretty. Was not pretty if you're a Packers fan. And that's Lambeau behind me, so that might tell you. And the fact that it's Green Bay looking at my cut. Look, Jaden Reed. I didn't catch the beginning of the game. Did he get injured in the game? I'm not sure. But he was seen in a boot at the game. Whether he was injured in the game or came to the game in a boot, I'm not sure. But they are hopeful that he will be ready by week 1. Not the best of news. Not somebody that I've been incredibly high on. I'm not going to move him in my rankings. I'm already lower on him. But you should know that if he's somebody that you're thinking of drafting, especially with where you've been currently drafting him, be a little bit concerned. But at the same time, the other receivers outside of Matthew Golden, not great. And that's where Matthew Golden, he's the only wide receiver in Green Bay who can catch a ball, is what I wrote from my note there. Lots of drops. It was a previous issue for the Green Bay Packers. Even one or two of the guys where drops weren't their issue, of the sudden drops were an issue for them in preseason week 1. So it was not great on the Packers side of things. It's preseason. The Packers, they use preseason properly. They're trying to do specific things and look at specific things. I'm sure they want to win games, but they don't necessarily care about it. I believe they went 0-4 the year that they almost had a perfect season. So, it's just never been something that they're overly concerned about winning. Fields did look impressive. It's preseason and all that good stuff, but he did look good, so that was promising. And Braylon Allen received a carry on the same first drive, along with Breece Hall, who also played. Breece Hall had 3 carries, Braylon Allen had 1, but once again, he got involved in that drive, so that's a little bit maybe concerning for Breece Hall. At the same time, I do think this team wants to be run-heavy at least, so hopefully that will offset for Hall any kind of, lower share of the backfield, if that's something that ends up happening. And in the second drive, Braylon Allen, or maybe second and third drive, whatever, he splits carries with their other second-year running back, Isaiah Davis, who had a solid rookie season last year. So maybe they're looking to do a little bit of split kind of backfield, heavy workload, I would think. But at the same time, if they're not running the ball a whole lot, I still got to think Breece Hall is the one that'll get those carries. But not to say there isn't anything to be worried about that being there. That's all of Saturday's games. Now we go on to today. The Patriots and the Commanders. And did we get Thursday? I don't know. We'll see. Patriots, Commanders. I think I have some Patriots stuff at the very least. Where are you? There we go. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, running back for the Washington Commanders, did not impress. So that takes a little bit of air out of that balloon. And then the other running back situation, Stevenson and Henderson for the New England Patriots, split the workload with the ones. That's what we expect to see. So that was not a surprise. And currently, Ramondre Stevenson, who dominated the carries, looked good also in doing so, is the RB1. Is expected to be the RB1 entering the season. Was the RB1 in this scenario at this point in the offseason. Henderson had an 18-yard run. Didn't get a whole lot of work. And then he caught all 3 of his targets, 3 receptions. Not a crazy reception total, yardage total or anything, so I didn't write that down. But you like to see the targets, the receptions off of those targets. You like to see the big 18-yard run. I think that was his only carry, if I recall correctly. So I guess that's kind of good. They didn't run him throughout the whole game or anything, so there must be some level of trust already there. I would think that they don't feel like they have to just give him all of this experience or something like that. They think that he'll get along just fine without it. So that's good, probably for him. Browns and Cleveland. Cleveland did not take an extended look at Dylan Sampson, kind of coming from that same angle as Henderson, not getting some kind of elongated, extended look beyond anything, just a long look. So is there a certain level of we know what we have in Sampson? We kind of trust it. We don't need to get him too much work. Maybe it would have seemed like a good situation to get him quite a bit of work there for an entire half, and I don't believe it was the entire half. And if it was, they didn't force him to get a whole bunch of touches throughout that. And when we look at the other side of the ball, the Panthers, by the way, Cleveland won 30-10. Tenero McMillan dominated the targets, and he had a really nice jump ball catch, which is definitely a part of his game. Along the sideline, got his toes down and everything, so that was very nice to see, of course, and you like to see that those targets were going his way already from Bryce Young, and Bryce Young trusting him for that jump ball. It was literally just a jump ball type of throw. And then Xavier Legette, no targets. Adam Thielen and Coker both got in with the ones on that drive. Coker got a touchdown. I believe each of them had one target, one catch. And those two, if you recall, last year kind of competed with each other for some workload, so maybe there's a repeat of that going on this season. Would make enough sense. And then we've got the Lions and Falcons. Okay, so this was Friday's games that we're looking at. I didn't think that this was today. I don't think there's anything from the Lions Falcons that I had of noteworthy news to go over, so we pass over that. We've got the Raiders and the Seahawks, where I don't believe I really had any takeaways from that. Bengals, Eagles, where are we? We're all the way back on Thursday. I'm pretty sure I did look at these games to make sure that I didn't have any takeaways. If I missed something, please in the comments to put anything out there that you think I should have covered. That might be fantasy relevant at some point, even throughout the season. I didn't have anything from the Eagles, Bengals, Colts, Ravens. See, I'm getting concerned that I didn't look back to Thursday's games. Is this like last week? Am I? Nope. But I don't think. Let's see here. We, of course, know I've talked about some of this stuff because this happens on Thursday. There was an injury to, of course, Anthony Richardson. It was not worst case scenario. I don't want to go back and look at these things. I don't remember anything truly standing out. I did talk about this too. Tyler Warren. I talked about this stuff previously, so I'm just not going to talk about that one. Bengals, Eagles, Bengals starting offense looked good. I think I talked about them some. Raiders, Seahawks, let's just check that box score. And make sure there was nothing there. And then I'll make sure that I covered all the games I wanted to. And let's just see what's going on right now. Tyler Shook, currently 12 of 18, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, so he's getting an extended look. So, his yardage totals and everything are better, but his average targets are higher. He's got fewer sacks on way more carries, way fewer rushing yards, no rushing yards. Spencer Rattler, 3 attempts for 22 yards on his attempts. So, Shook's getting a chance to prove himself here. And he's not crapping the bed, at least. We'll just give him that much. I think what we want is not team stats. Box score. So, Ravens, didn't run anybody. Like Ashton Genty had a negative 1 yard on 3 attempts. Whatever, we're not too concerned. I guess the offensive line for the Ravens rushing attack did not impress in day one there. Jack Bash didn't do anything of note, unfortunately. So there wasn't really any kind of feedback there. George Holani, baby, second-year running back, had a good one. You'll love to see it. Seahawks sure know how to draft running backs, I'll tell you that much. Outside of that, I don't think there was... Torrey Horton had a solid enough day for a preseason, and looked pretty good, and he's been having a good training camp. Definitely might be the wide receiver 3 there, and definitely somebody with if there's an injury, like Cooper Kupp's, had some injuries and stuff, could become valuable at some point in the season. I loved him in the for the NFL draft, went a little bit later than I personally would have taken him if I was a GM. So yeah, he's definitely somebody who I'm not going to draft them, but I'm sure hoping if I got a spot for him on the waiver wire and there's an injury or anything, I'm sure on my roster and he becomes a waiver wire target, I'm going to be willing to go for it almost certainly because I have a lot of faith in him. So I think that was that for that. What do we got? More games? Are we just going back in time here? Now we're up to Sunday. Dolphins, Bears. I don't think I came away with really anything of note from that one. And the Saints Chargers kind of talked about that. It's really just the quarterback that matters from that one. Yeah. You like to see tight end Orlando Godston. Got another 4 targets, 2 receptions, 15 yards this week. Got involved fairly heavily last week for preseason. So you like that. Let's see here. Washington, New England, we covered that. Cleveland, Carolina, we covered that. Houston, Minnesota, we covered that. Jets, Green Bay, we covered that. Pittsburgh, covered that. Dallas, covered that. Tennessee, Kansas City, Denver, we've covered it all. Thank you so much. It was wonderful seeing you, Sheila. And once again, in the comments, if you have any takeaways from this week, this wasn't super in-depth, show them. And have a good one. Peace out. Wait, I said that too early because I didn't get prepared to close the stream. Oh, gosh. Bye. Have a good one, Sheila. Where the heck? It's one of these tabs. Should be this one? No. Alright, I tell you what. We're going to close that. It's the one that says live streaming literally on it. Come on. Grow up. All right. Peace out. Have a good one. End in the stream. Bye-bye.